Greetings and welcome back, everyone, to Into the Nexus, the Heroes of the Storm podcast. I'm Garrett Weinzerl, and I am joined, as always, by Kyle Ferguson. Kyle, how was your week of heroes brawling going?
My non-MOBA experience, it's been completely overshadowed by the games that we had just hours ago, which were fantastic and involved both you and I diving straight for the bottom of their stairs in order to dance our little Uther and Tychus butts off.
That is very true, folks. We're coming to you hot on the heels of some of the most absurd raffle stomps that we've been privileged to be a part of. Yeah, we got in. We played a couple after work games after 5 o'clock. Jim Bob was on, stitching it up. And
Stitches the salesman, no less. Excuse me, do you have a minute to talk? Excuse me, Lily, can I talk to you for a moment?
Oh, come over here. I'll just eat you, run over here, and kill you. Okay, wonderful. Yeah, it was a good game. We really destroyed. I mean, we did have a 5-stack, and we were just screwing around in quick match, so it was probably a little unfair.
A little, but who's counting?
Yeah. And honestly, I don't think you and I have had that moment of bonding where we're both, oh, wait, let's run up to their core and dance. Dance to win.
It's been a while since things have been that one-sided.
Yeah, no. Well, anytime you and I play now, it's nothing but ranked, so it's super serious business. And when we do win, it's by the skin of our teeth.
Well, and there's, some established strategies at the moment. I really wanted to play Jaina this afternoon, but we had 2 supports. And in the current meta of things, getting a auto attack dealing hero like Tychus, someone who can continually deliver some damage, Vala as well, is just going to fill so well with 2 people just babysitting him.
Oh, yeah.
And I had an absolute blast riding around in my giant Odin.
Yeah, it was a little silly. It was a little bit silly. I bounce around heroes like crazy. And I so badly want to hit 10 on Uther because I want the Master Skin. It takes forever. And I even have a stim pack active. It's ridiculous.
Oh, you still do? Jeez.
Yeah, I bought a month. I was like, well, if I'm going to buy it, I might as well just plop down to 10 and not have to worry about it. And, man, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely absurd.
Yeah, I don't get to play much Diablo, of course, but still, when I get the chance and co-op's taking care of some quests and whatnot, I bust him out, and not quite there yet. It's more the accidental heroes that I just play a ton, like Tassadar and Tychus, that I'm really into. But Uther's been having a bit of trouble this week because of a particular stun bug, basically against any hero with a movement ability, like Vala and Illidan, really, is the problem.
We played a game where on the opposing team there was a Vala and a Muradin just before the show, and both of them got out of my damn stun. My stun landed, the cooldown started as if it connected, and I saw the graphic hit them, but Vala vaulted at the same time as my stun hit, so the stun did nothing, and Muradin did a leap, or a dwarf toss. That's what it's called, right? I don't play a lot of Muradin.
No, you're right.
I call it leap, but it's actually called dwarf toss, right?
He does toss himself, yes.
He tosses himself, yeah. And the same thing happened. He activates his leap the same time my hammer, and my hammer is just now on cooldown with no positive effect.
It's a little more forgivable on those heroes at the moment, but Illidan, whose auto attacks, mess with his cooldowns if you spec for that, but also he just has 2 of them, is basically breaking every stun there is.
Yeah. It's,
so Brightwing, slight buff because of a bug. Polymorph can't be broken by movement abilities.
Yeah, that's right. Although, correct me if I'm wrong, Diablo's Flame Breath still totally persists through Polymorph, right? So you've got like a little squirrel just raining hellfire upon everyone in front of them.
Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah, it's wonderful. I hope that never ends. We got a question from the chat room. Select is wondering why bother. He wants to know why we even bother with ranked. Isn't it just a matter of playing enough games? Which to a certain point it is. I mean, you can still rank down if you do terribly enough. But for me, and we've talked about this, I feel like we brought this up on a previous episode, or maybe it's just when we talked to D-Day off stream, and I think it's an episode of Into the Nexus. Which is that, I mean, you said, Kyle, that you're not really trying to grind it too hard because it seems kind of meaningless to you at the moment. And
sure.
And I don't necessarily disagree with that, but I do say I want to just keep playing ranked because I like the draft mode so much. I like that little part of the game going in, and I also like that you can't have mirror matchups.
Right, and that really for me, if I couldn't draft, it would be more about the fact that I get to see what map I'm going into. Because there's certain heroes that are just so awesome on particular maps, and I want to pick them in those situations. And you can say, oh, well, I'm not going to grind it, but it is a level of prestige either way. When you get to rank 10, the points, it's harder to climb. It's not quite I can lose too freely and then I get a win and I make up for it after rank 10. So the people who are up there deserve to be up there regardless of how they got there. Now, people who, of course, are playing with full 5-man teams and ran all the way up there, that's a bit different than those just trying to get at it in a solo condition. And I'm hoping in the future that there is a place for only solo people because it gives a certain attitude to the environment.
Yeah, I'd be down with that too. Yeah, just like only solo queue, no pre-mades allowed.
Exactly. People who are good at pinging, people who can communicate quickly across text. No one's saying, oh, we're all on Skype, or what are you doing not on Skype, that kind of situation.
Yeah, which the more I play, and I pug a lot, the more I am so anti getting rid of chat, because I still see that brought up from time to time in the community. Like, well, why don't we just get rid of chat like Hearthstone? And it's just like, to a certain point, yes, a lot can be accomplished with pings. I'm not arguing that, but you can't say like, I don't know, you can't have conversations about your build. Or like if you end up with 2 supports, you can't ping to ask, yo, are you going more damage, oriented so that I know how to react and I know how to build.
Right, and in particular, if you're pushing some sort of new form of talents that have recently been reworked or your own personal build that has a unique flavor and gives to your team, it's nice to be able to notify people of that. And if you're sensitive that you get upset playing Hearthstone when, someone's being like, well played, like any system's gonna get to you.
Right, it really doesn't matter. And in Hearthstone, I wish we had a lobby outside of game for chat. Like really freaking bad. Sure,
Diablo has such a wonderful system. We all kind of want that implemented across the board in all the games.
Yeah, the clan system's amazing. I mean, Diablo and Warcraft basically, or Diablo and WoW just have it nailed down.
And it drives conversations, which I think is the funnest thing. I want to see, when someone reaches level 5, or perhaps in Heroes, if they buy a new hero, and everyone can be like, whoa, hey, check out so-and-so, buying up stitches. It's just fun.
Yeah. No, you are absolutely correct. And and speaking of communicating with your team, we should just start a Grinds Garrett's Gears segment, because what's bothering me this week are the sheer amount of terrors we have just let wilt this week in my pickup games. I cannot tell you how many games I have played this week where the terror just was never taken control of and we just lost it.
Well, you mentioned earlier that you've just been cursed with the Garden Terror and been playing that almost nonstop.
Yeah, I've gotten that map a lot this week, and I'm really burnt out on it. I would love some type of veto situation for Battlegrounds, because it's a little ridiculous.
Yeah.
But what you going to do?
It's usually the longest map for me, too, so I feel like I spend more time on it.
Yeah.
In general, the games can be well defended. Games that, end themselves, like Sky Temple and, to an extent, Blackheart's Bay, certainly, but it cursed, again, something like a mule is so powerful there to keep a game going that you can really feel like you're in those forever.
Yeah, no, I agree wholeheartedly. I think, not to say I hate it, but I think Garden of Terror is, I think it's my least favorite battleground now. I think it may have usurped Blackheart's Bay as my least favorite battleground.
Blackheart's Bay's grown on me.
Yeah,
but. So I have a profile now to reaffirm that as my most won map for some reason. Yeah. Maybe because I'm on the hot, just high alert. And I'm like, let's get this done. I want to win this map and get to my Dragonshire, whatever I truly enjoy. Whereas Haunted Mines for me is always snowballed.
Yeah. No, yeah, Haunted Mines, I'd have to go back and check. Sky Temple is still my best map by an absurd amount. It's really in my favor. I think I might be over 80%.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That being said, I haven't played it once this week.
So yeah, it seems like definitely Garden of Terror is a little turned up at the moment.
Yeah, I don't know. It feels like we still have had no confirmation of whether Blizzard does that or not, where they put something, they make one particular battleground more common for it to come across in the matchups, right. But it certainly feels that way.
Yeah, I saw a Reddit post of a guy, happening this week who was like, I thought one of the big features of this game was multiple maps, and he just showed Dragonshire 12 games in a row.
Well, first off, that guy, I wish I had that problem. That I would be very happy to play 12 Dragonshires in a row. But yeah, no, we've all been there. So, well, Kyle, let's get into this week's Heroes of the Storm news, shall we?
We're on, boys! Ha-ha! Let's liven up this place!
Point me to the stage.
Stay a while and listen.
A reminder, you can go to itncast.reddit.com to submit stories you would like to see on the show or upvote submissions that are already there. This week, we want to talk about the Balancing Imbalances post by developer John Hodgson that went up on the official Heroes site this past week. And he basically came in and said that there are 3 main methods for identifying a balance problem in the game, and kind of what they do with it. So as far as identifying it is concerned, Hodgson said that the primary means that they have to identify problems is actually engaging with the game themselves, playing the game and seeing how it. They said it's largely about, quote, feel. The first stage of identifying issues doesn't really come down to statistics or hard numbers. They basically just said if something, quote, feels or looks wrong, if an ability or hero just seems, quote, unavoidable, indestructible, or feels unfair, that's when they kind of raise flag number 1. They said flag number 2 is feedback from the community, which we kind of assumed. They seem to be really good about getting in there with the blue posts and giving folks feedback whenever there's seems like there's legitimate concern on the forums. I mean, we talk about blue posts almost every week on this show.
Well, and I mean, this is nothing but a huge experiment in letting the community decide what kind of MOBA we want.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, remember artifacts?
Yeah.
I barely do, and I'm glad I don't. I'm glad I barely do. Because those were here and gone real fast. They said the third and final thing that they look at when identifying balance issues is the hard numbers, the game data. They say, quote, hero and talent pick rates, win rates, and the like through different filters like players' skill level, number of players in the party, which battleground, and all those types of things are the final thing that they look at. And they said that if all 3 of these factors are throwing up flags, then that's when they get in and decide that something needs to be done. And that's where Hodgson talks about the different ways that they can tweak, the different tools at their disposal when there is an imbalance. And the first up, he said that there's tuning, which is the simplest and fastest way to really change something that they might see as imbalanced. And they I like the way he referred to it here. He said that they, internally they refer to the numbers that they tune as balance hooks or knobs, which I like that. These are, so basically any ability you can think of, Kyle, that does like a base amount of damage and plus some scaling. Those are just numbers, and they can just proverbially like just turn a knob and adjust the numbers up or down. And so
which I hope with lots of pomp and circumstance.
Yeah. Yes, I don't think they just
like there's one particular computer they all do the balance updates on, and it has like, they have to open it up, and it's in its own room with candles, very drippy, big candles like Diablo, sitting atop skulls.
I feel like that much dripping wax is a really bad thing to have around an open keyboard.
Yeah, yeah. You think some rice or Cheeto dust is bad for a keyboard. Getting wax in there is probably a bigger problem.
I'm about to say we have all spilled soda on our keyboards. I can only imagine what wax does. Although I feel like wax, then it just dries and then it just flakes out. So it's actually probably not nearly as bad as soda.
No, but it's so gooey. And then you get on your hand and it hurts, but it's kind of cool and whatever. My favorite statement about this is that when they are making new abilities, they have to take these into account ahead of time. So making something like a short-range teleport, you can mess with the length of the teleport, but ultimately you haven't really engaged too many knobs for yourself to fix things with later.
Right, and that's what they talk about with the second way that they can change balance, which is redesigning. And they said that that's what happens when either number tuning is not enough, or there are literally no numbers to adjust. Hodgson gave a great example of Tyrael's Cast Aside talent, which recently was cut from the game. He said it was a very binary function. It's a knockback and an interrupt, so it's either just on or off. You either have it or you don't. It knocks back. I mean, I'm sure you could adjust like how far it knocks back, but you can't adjust an interrupt. It either interrupts or it doesn't. So like I never thought about this, and I love this post for this reason, because I was just kind of had a like, oh moment.
It's a great science of fun post. In particular, it's great to hear that they are working so hard to actually play their own game, which I'm sure, being your job in the first place can be a bit exhausting at times.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things I feel like it was brought up at not the Heroes panel this year, but the year before, when you actually came to BlizzCon, Kyle. That I think it was Browder brought up. He was just like, we knew we had something going right when we worked, till God knows what hour of the night designing the game, and we still wanted to stay after work and play it.
Yeah.
Which I feel like is a sentiment you hear from Blizzard all the time. And it's definitely something we want to believe, because obviously as big of fans as we are, it's something that we kind of assume happens.
Sure, but they also have the structure in order to decide if something isn't fun and just get rid of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So there was a lot more that Hodgson wrote, but those are the highlights that we wanted to discuss here. So I highly recommend folks go over to the official Heroes site and check out the post in full.
Of course, once again, he starts the post with the title of Balancing Imbalances, which immediately brought tons of flame to this particular post, most of which were people who were quickly put down by the community, which was great to see.
Good. What were they mad about?
Oh, how dare you make this post because you can't balance in the first place?
Oh, so so a post about balance comes up, and then everyone uses that as an excuse to get on and just, with a bullhorn, complain about the one thing that's personally affecting them.
Exactly. Okay. And before this post, the most pointed at problem most recently was Murky. And we even got a statement on that this week.
Yeah, we did. That basically a better Murky is coming. Trickslayer got on the official forums this week and said that, quote, Murky is getting some love in a future patch. There are a few cool ideas being floated around internally that are being tested before we push them live. He cannot provide any details yet, but he said, as a fellow Murky player, I can say I'm excited to try them out with you. For now, work on those Octocrep combos and keep making use of that egg. So yeah, hopefully it's right around the corner. The iteration process seems to be pretty quick so far with Heroes, so I don't think it could be that far out.
No, not at all. We've already put some distance between us and the Lost Vikings patch, so these things can be expected in the next 3 weeks. I really enjoyed the post this came from, though, because it could have been a flame, all caps, you've ruined Murky, blah, blah, but instead, this was a guy suggesting everybody picks Murky, and we just show Blizzard how much we love him by making him part of every game and just bombard them with stats.
Yeah, so user Felf on the official Heroes forums, hats off to you, sir, because your forum post titled "Let's Start a Million Murlocs March" brought a smile to our face.
The right way to handle it.
Yes, this is I want more of this. Clearly, if you listen to our show, even we have issues with the game, but it doesn't mean we're still not enjoying it. You can't have some damn fun with your critiques,
right?
Everything doesn't have to be doom and gloom. Don't just get on there and demand that Vala has a hook like Stitches, and then quit the game when they don't give it to her.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's just irrational.
I was trying to think of the most absurd example I could think of.
That's pretty absurd. Not only would it just be overpowered in a winning situation, it would be awful in a losing situation to bring anything to your face as Vala.
Yeah.
And then she eats them and puts them behind a... Oh, no, wait, hang on.
Speaking of the Lost Vikings, by the way, Kyle, they are now down to 10,000 gold to purchase.
That they are.
Yeah, this is something I forgot to put in the notes here, but that's absolutely the case. And also, I meant to ask you, have you been seeing even more Stitches than usual this week? Because he's on sale, and I feel like I've seen so many Stitches.
Oh, he's been everywhere. But I've also seen a lot of Arthuses, which was a surprise to me, particularly after all those tier lists came out, ranking him really low. And then we had even more tier lists come out from other, Cloud9 players and whatnot that continued to rank him in 4 or 5. And yet I'm seeing some amazing Arthas play.
I've seen a lot of Arthas in my quick matches. I still haven't seen him in ranked play. Oddly enough, I'm seeing a lot of Diablo in a ranked play.
Yeah, he's been actually working really well into the 2-tank meta, which is really popular at the moment, using him as a sort of splitter. You have your one main tank who has powers to heal himself, like an ETC, getting in there and just soaking up damage. And then Diablo's the one picking off single targets for your ranged DPS to take care of.
Ah, okay. I like that. We should try that.
It's really cool to see. You have to be on Skype, of course. This is a meta coming down from the competitive scene.
Right.
If people don't trust the Diablo or they're not actually responding to what you grab and push, well, then it's kind of a wasted cause.
Pointless. Yeah, exactly. So, well, that's good to hear because, like I said, I've been seeing a lot of them.
And actually, to that note, Stitches is being treated in the same way now, despite his heal and his massive health pool. He's being treated as a splitter as well. And people like Arthas and ETC are taking up, and Chen as well, are taking up the banner of the true tank.
Gotcha. So you're the soak target, basically.
Exactly.
Gotcha. Well, very cool. Before we get into this week's strategy, quick thanks to all of our patrons over at patreon.com/ITN, where, Kyle, we have hit our second milestone of $500 a month. Thanks to our 71 awesome patrons. So we will now be doing after show games every single week. So if you
Which
are
is awesome.
Yes. So to explain, if you are a patron, tune into the live show Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, after which we usually have a game or two. And now we will definitely be doing at least one or two every single week. So come on, get in the chat room. And we're still working on exactly the fairest way to do this because there's no note system in game, so it's not like I can flag people as patrons in game. So be looking for a post on the Patreon very soon where we're going to be doing some battle tag / Twitch name exchanges so that we know who is who in the chat room.
Right, and we'll also, this came to us today, which is awesome to see, when you wake up in the morning, the day before your show. We'll also, when we do our games, come up with some sort of system so we're not just picking all our favorites and raffle stomping anyone else who happens to show up.
Basically, you're saying that we're not going to have Jim Bob on our team every game.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jim Bob. You're too good. Though that first game we played with you today, I don't know.
Yeah.
I've seen you falter.
He's probably just gritting his teeth right now. Yeah, I feel like Jim Bob and Poor D-Day, both of them, they've just played with us too much. They know how we work, so we would jive together too well against, 5 other randomly assigned people.
Well, and poor Spade War messaged me this week saying, I've been trying so hard to get in a game with you, but no matter what I do, someone always picks my Stitches.
And you know what else is going to happen, I think, Kyle, is the patrons are going to start banding together and scheming against us, so we're not going to know that these 5 dudes who are hanging out in Twitch chat actually play together all the time.
Oh,
and we're going to put them on a team together.
Yeah,
we're just going to get wrecked.
They're going to be, messaging in rhythm so that they all get put on the same team, just immediately school us, all counters to the things we normally play. In fact, in the pre-show, Kristen warned everyone not to chase me as Tassadar. So already, my secrets are leaking out. Not
to chase you as Tassadar?
Well, because of course I take all the ghosting talents, so I can immediately break all your stuns.
Oh, in case no one saw that.
Okay, right. Sorry.
Yeah, just stop giving your secrets away, Kyle. I like that now we're just going to stop giving out information about how we play the game on the show.
There'll be an after show where we talk about real strategy.
Oh, that's just wonderful. But again, thank you very much to our patrons. It's really, really humbling and awesome that you guys are supporting the show. We really appreciate it. And this week we wanted to thank Nick C, Chris M, and Lucas B. Thank you so much for being patrons of Into the Nexus. And hopefully we'll see you in game. Now, it is time to talk some strategy.
Choose a talent.
Choose a talent!
Talent? Ah, that seems generous.
Impressive work, hero. I think you're ready for more.
Oh, why, thank you, Uther. That means a lot coming from you.
The light and whatnot.
Exactly. Our strategy this week was actually inspired by a listener email. This came to us from BG Ranger, who wrote in. You can actually send emails to itncast@gmail.com. But Ranger says, a friend and I recently got into a heated discussion during a quick match game on the Garden map. He would always take control of the Garden Terror and go balls deep, his words not mine, into their nearest fort to get the siege damage from it. Our team would sometimes try to follow, but not being very coordinated, he often ended up in their fort alone. He would quickly die as a result and would yell at our team for not being there with him. Another teammate responded saying he didn't know how to use the Garden Terror, which leads me to the question. What is the proper way to use the Garden Terror? Is it more for siege damage, or is it better to try to kill the hero team with? I think that it will be more helpful to lay back from the fort and then move in once you have picked off some of the heroes to get more total siege damage in. But am I wrong? Well, and Kyle, you were so nice to find out when we originally talked about the Garden of Terror, and that is apparently back on episode 15 if you want to see our initial impressions.
Ooh, and it's been a while since then.
Yes, it has.
And the style at which people use the Garden Terror is bizarre now. If you are just getting into the game, if you are, grabbing the Dragon Knight, pretty straightforward. Fire, kick people, hit buildings, you're good to go. And as long as you are wailing on buildings, everyone is happy. But the Garden Terror has so many nuances to them that I feel like, we talked about the Garden Terror running out earlier. I think people are just afraid to touch it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't have any other explanation other than I don't know. People need to communicate more. I think maybe people might be afraid of well, if I go back and two other people go back and we leave two guys just standing out in the middle of the map and they die. But someone needs to take it. You can't just let 100 seeds go to waste.
Well, and I think with time, the first step in Garden Terror will be selecting a hero that actually rides the thing, like Asmodan, like a Nova perhaps, a Zeratul, guys who can get away or aren't quite as useful in big team engagements. Whereas right now it's really popular to do basically a WoW team, one tank, 3 assassins, and a support. The support's not going to ride it because that's taking away all your heals. The assassins all think they're too important to get in there because you're losing all their damage, and your tank sure as heck isn't getting in there.
Yeah, you're right. People with escape mechanics, Zeratul, Nova, Asmodan. I mean, hell, even Vala in a pinch because she can vault when she gets out. I've terrored plenty of times as Vala, and it's been okay. I mean, yeah, you lose some damage, but it's not the end of the world. Really the big thing is your tank, you need out there soaking damage. You need your healer healing people. So those are the two people that probably shouldn't do it, especially if you only have one of each. But there is actually a really good guide over on teamliquid.net titled, Garden of Terror. It's written by Phantom and SC2 John. Highly recommend folks go check it out, but we're going to be pulling from a lot from it in our discussion here because they really break it down.
I think this is the first time we've pulled from Team Liquid for this particular show, and if you're not familiar with it, when they put together a strategy, it's no holds barred. These things are beautiful, graphic-filled, video-filled examples of everything you should be doing.
Yes. Also, we used to do a show called Starcast, and we're massive freaking fans.
That too. That helps. So when I see Team Liquid does a guide, I go, oh,
well,
yes.
Stand up and pay attention.
Shut up and listen, everybody, because it's lesson time.
It's time to get learned. Speaking of which, you said, and I haven't seen this yet, you said that Artosis and Tasteless casted a Heroes game this week?
They did.
I need to see this.
It was okay.
Okay, really?
They're clearly just getting into the game. They seemed kind of confused when they suddenly saw certain heroes they thought weren't in the game yet. But they were very familiar with the teams and the particular players and somewhat their styles, which gave a bit of a glimpse into what's happening in the Korean scene, which you're not going to see anywhere else.
Well, that's good to hear.
They need to up their bandwidth, though, because they are having some problems with their free video at the moment.
Gross. Is this still GOM?
I was watching it on some other player. It wasn't a GOM, but it was another sort of Korean live stream recording thing that was just rather hideous.
Gotcha. Okay. Anyway, let's talk about how to Garden Terror correctly. The very first, probably most important thing to note is that it has really high single target damage, so it's actually pretty good in a team fight. And it does not have increased damage to structures, which the Dragon Knight does. And that's a misconception I feel like a lot of folks fall into.
I admit that was my misconception. If you weren't hitting buildings, I was, slowly building my rage bar in your direction.
Yeah. No, the all of the siege damage from the terror. I mean, yes, you can smack on the buildings, but you're doing normal damage. The big absurd damage siege wise comes from the plant horror overgrowth.
Which is actually currently still counting towards your individual siege damage. So someone like a Rainer gets up in that Garden Terror, he's got himself a real nice score at the end.
Which I'm kind of okay with that. I think, like, because I would want to see just how much damage the Terror does.
Right, and in this situation, it's great because it's back in your base. The Dragon Knight, like, that's whoever can get a hold of it. If Lily, your only healer, happens to be the one in the back and she can get it while everyone's holding it off, who cares? You got the dragon.
Just get the damn Dragon Knight. Get it. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. So this guy on Team Liquid brings up the fact, and I agree with it, that the Garden Terror is ideal for really throwing a monkey wrench in team fights for your opponent. Now, granted, you can also push a lane incredibly, and you can basically clean up mercenary pushes with a single plant, with a single overgrowth, which is the potted plant thing. If you ever see the flower pot show up, that's what it is.
And it's not uncommon for people to grab their terror and take it straight towards a terror with seeds out on the map and start wailing on that to pick up the last couple all along.
Yeah, absolutely. So real quick, just to answer Ranger's question about, was his friend in the wrong to just go off alone and push a fort? I hate telling people they're wrong, but it probably wasn't the smartest of ideas.
If it wasn't a predetermined strategy and you guys weren't split pushing, running off by yourself is not the best idea.
Yeah.
It's really confusing because you have a sprint button. So it kind of gives, much like Kerrigan's dive, which is, much better for engaging with a team or getting away if you spec for it or what have you, just diving into the middle of things is going to get you killed.
Right. You brought up split pushing, which is a great thing to get onto. Yes, it's a good point. Pushing forts by yourself as the Terror with no semblance of a plan will most likely end up, much like Ranger's friend did, getting you killed. Because if your team doesn't know what's going on, if really there's two things. If you're pushing a fort with the Terror, there's two things that are going to happen. Either your team is going to be with you to help succeed, or you're split pushing, which means the Terror is pushing one lane and the other four teammates are pushing a different lane, and that'll help success.
Right, and then you come back to the perception, you're wasting our Terror, whereas Dragon Knight, it died in 5 seconds. Who gives a crap? Like, we stopped them from getting in. Good job, everybody.
Right, exactly. Whereas with the Terror, since both teams get it and you're not robbing them. I mean, with seeds, yes, if you're getting seeds and they aren't, great, you're robbing them of a Terror, but it's not exactly the same. It's not as 1-to-1 with Dragonshire, where it doesn't feel as bad if you waste the Dragon Knight. So split pushing is really important. The other thing that you can do is do the dance. There's so many scenarios where enough of your team may not be alive to do a proper split push or even support your push safely, to where I like to just do that thing where you bounce around lanes, whichever ones still have forts up, say, bottom and middle still have forts up. You just keep shifting between the two of them and dropping overgrowths.
Right. In a solo queue situation, what I normally say is going mid, top if busy. And if I get there, throw down the potted plant. If, I'm getting dogged, dive right out of there and head to another lane. Yeah. Now,
we haven't talked at all about Spore Queen's Curse, which is one of the other abilities that the Terror has, and that's the other ability that you throw it on the ground that has a circular radius, very similar to Overgrowth, but it affects enemy heroes, and it turns them into those little, I call it the little Shop of Horrors plant.
Right, and it is another one of these perfectly sized abilities, much like Nazebo's Walls of Zombies, where it fits just in the bushes or right over the exit to a gate.
Mm-hmm. No, you can have some fabulous zone control with this Spore Queen's Curse. If you drop it in a choke, no one's running through there without getting cursed, and it sucks to get cursed because you move so slow and you just can't use any abilities. You're utterly useless. So many of my deaths on Garden of Terror is from getting cursed from the spore. It's the worst thing ever.
Well, and it lasts 5 seconds, which is a very long time in a MOBA. I mean, if you can imagine any stun in WoW lasting 5 seconds, it's OP and you'd be screaming on the forums.
Oh, absolutely.
Not only that, it can refresh itself. So if they land this perfectly on top of you, or you're diving towards it, suddenly you get cursed and decide to turn around, you might then spend that extra time in the curse, get the 2 procs, and be stuck in there for a good 8 seconds.
Yeah, it's real rough. So the other thing you can do with the curse is you can place it directly on top of the overgrowth. So any melee heroes that go in and try and attack the overgrowth so that it doesn't do the maximum damage will get cursed. And it's, well, as an Uther player, it's just evil.
Yeah, it particularly works well against someone like Thrall, who gets his, Thor hammer all spun up. You see him running in there with the Wind Fury, and then nothing happens.
Yeah, you're just like, nope. Q, click, no.
Obviously, not too good against range heroes.
No, had really no effect on them whatsoever. But that's where you kind of need to get finesse with the Garden Terror.
And if you're using the strategy that we were talking about earlier, where you are going for a fort, finding out it's busy, and going to another lane, it's the perfect thing to leave in your wake.
Yeah, you just drop it and run away. It's good, so people can't chase. So it's super helpful because there will be cases where you go to push a fort and there's only one or two other heroes there trying to defend it as opposed to the whole team, and it would probably be safe to stay there and fight them. And the curse really tips the odds in your favor because you can place it, where you need it depending on where the heroes are kind of engaging from. So
the last thing to note here is that it lasts for 1 minute and 30 seconds. So even after you pick it up, it's not a bad idea to kind of wait for everyone. And in fact, if you're watching the pro games, particularly the one shown on this particular Team Liquid page, they are dancing and not really working as a tank, more just kind of sticking to the back, making sure they get their full duration, not getting overinvested because you are a fat pile of plants and you can easily get yourself body blocked into a horrible situation. And in fact, that when there's a terror out of position, that's all I do. It's get in its face. Its auto attacks are strong, but it's not frequent enough really to kill you if you have some support with you.
Right. And I just want to reiterate, because we touched on it, but I don't think we really talked about it a lot. Don't be afraid to team fight with it. If you're you're on your way out from just getting the terror and you see that your other 4 buddies are in an engagement, just sprint and join them. Start throwing down because you will absolutely shift the fight in their favor. So
it's an odd one, but I feel like with time people are starting to figure it out. Hopefully some strats like this help us in the world and you listeners as well from letting that thing run out because it's an issue at the moment.
Did you ever raid Ice Crown?
I did not, no.
Oh, damn.
No, my rating was all BC, but I'm sure I can find a nice, horrible equivalent to whatever you're about to tell me.
Well, there's a fight in the Plague Wing, the final boss, Professor Putricide, who talked like Dr. Farnsworth from Futurama.
Oh, of course.
Good news, everyone. The slime is flowing again.
With that big, lumpy zombie thing, right?
Yeah. The huge abominations.
The one that made Don't Stand in the Poop popular.
Yes, exactly. Well, all of WoW has made Don't Stand in the Poop popular. But
fair enough. But in particular, that expansion was poop heavy.
Yeah, my point is that the Garden of Terror kind of reminds me of that fight, because in that fight, if you were one of the tanks had to run over to the alchemy table and drink the mysterious mixture, and it would turn you into one of those abominations. And you had to help in the fight as an abomination, or you would just wipe. And that was always my job. So anytime I'm playing the Terror, that's what it reminds me of.
Nice. Yeah, you were. So were you main tank in that situation?
We swapped around a lot, me and the other tank. I main tanked on Lich King, but I off tanked on that fight.
Gotcha.
So because the abomination wasn't the one actually tanking Putricide.
Makes sense. That's an important role to take, man. Good job.
Yeah, you had to eat the slimes, man. Just going down memory lane. Oh, man, that was my favorite raid. That was such a good time. Anyways, again, head over to teamliquid.net and read the Garden of Terror guide.
I'm so sad I missed Ulduar.
Yeah, that might have been the best raid ever. I don't know.
Yeah, and now they continue to put out even more Hearthstone cards that people look at fondly and go, remember?
Well, in that case, it's Flame Leviathan.
No, I don't. I remember Gruul's butt in my face. That's what I remember.
I was about to say, in the case of Ulduar, I can only think of Flame Leviathan, and that card is terrible.
I remember vermin, leeches, take my blood all night long.
Oh, that was Magtheridon.
Yep.
Not Gruul, but yeah. Take my blood and choke on it. Wonderful.
Darn trash that would come back in an hour and a half if you didn't do it in time.
Yeah. Well, we have a new segment this week, Kyle. Let's talk about our wish list.
For ire!
The guilty will suffer.
Is there something amiss?
All the tribe, hasten my blade!
None survive. I must hunt you. Face the Nexus.
At least I have
chicken.
At least you do. By far, the best job by Kyle Ferguson making a bumper ever. I love it so much.
Oh, thank you.
Well done, sir.
A fine collection of some of the most requested heroes, and, some of my own. I may be the only one who's still wishing for Jiraxis, but...
No, I'm right there with you, man. I want all the gnomes to be trifling.
Oh, it's such a great speech, though that raid was rather long-winded.
Well, it was a really short raid, so they had to buff it out somehow.
But this particular section is inspired by the many conversations that have been started both on our Reddit as well as the emails we've been receiving after talking about Phoenix. About 2 episodes, was it? And I talked about Dragoon. People just want him as a zealot. Who am I saying he should be a Dragoon here? Suggesting all sorts of abilities, other sorts of things. And we started receiving more and more emails of what people want in games. So wish list, the maybe every once in a while, perhaps every episode, who knows, segment that'll bring on your particular emails as to what you want to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not just heroes. The obvious thought here is write in and tell us what heroes you'd like to see and how you think they could be built. But you could also do battlegrounds or battleground mechanics or anything like that. Anything you want to see. Anyways, the first guy who got an email into Wishlist is called the Thief Lord.
Which is a very fitting name for the hero we're about to talk about.
Indeed it is. The Thief Lord writes in and says, I was wondering what heroes you would like to have added to the game. My number 1 would be Edwin Van Cleef as a pure rogue hero with Shadow Step and Backstab. I'd also like to see all the classes from WoW represented at least once. Love the show. I'm so down with this. I'd love to see Van Cleef. And
he is kind of the paramount rogue at the moment, thanks to Hearthstone. If you were to come at me before Hearthstone came out and you pick a rogue, probably not him. Well, since he got removed from the game.
Well, for me, I think thanks to Hearthstone, it's Valera, because she is the rogue.
Oh, fair enough.
But she's a character from the comics, really. There's a few quests where you come into contact with her in World of Warcraft, but that's about it.
Yeah, my familiarity with her before Hearthstone was basically the butt in that one Draenei's face on the particular art piece.
Oh, yeah. She's fighting... oh, God, what's his name? I know. He just died. Spoiler alert.
Oh, no.
Anyways.
He was in all those movies. That made me feel like I was watching Saturday morning cartoons about World of Warcraft. That or that one undead chick I do like all those missions for in the Birdlands.
I don't know who that is. Can't help you there.
Tell you.
Anyways, talking about Van Cleef, I am so down with this because, you and I both played a lot of WoW. You played since vanilla, right?
Oh, yeah.
So you went to Dead Mines.
Yes, I did. And it was probably the coolest place in vanilla. Like one of them at least. You going through those tunnels, the tunnels are themselves okay. You get to the room with the big boiler. That's pretty cool. All right. But then suddenly you're just in the giant cavern with the big, big doors and the giant ship and all the cannons firing, the parrots flying around. It was sweet.
You're just making me want to go play WoW now. Thanks, Kyle.
Oh, and it was level, 18 up to that point. You had what? Ragefire Chasm, Wailing Caverns. Like these just didn't, bring the scope, the gravity of adventure like Dead Mines did.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And stumbling across it was such a fond memory because I didn't know jack about WoW. I was playing it so early there really wasn't any resources online telling me what to do. So you kind of just found it. You're like, well, what the hell is this? And you go in, you immediately die because you didn't know you had to get 4 other people.
Yep, you had to do those long chain quests where you caught the courier and then you go and kill all the rogues outside of it and they were stealth and they'd kick your butt because you were there too early because you heard there was an instance in this area and you're excited. Tanking it on my first gnome.
So how would you like to see Van Cleef kind of represented? Because, I think Shadow Step and Backstab makes the most sense. But then I've also got Hearthstone beating down the back of my brain because... I don't know. I feel like he should have some type of mechanic, much like his card, where the more basic attacks you do before his heroic ability, the more damage the heroic ability does, or something. Because in Hearthstone, the more cards you play, the bigger he is when he enters the game.
Right, and because of that, he's not very popular at the moment, is my understanding.
He's in one variation of the Oil Rogue, which is really the only rogue at the moment.
Okay, nice. Seems to me that wasting that many cards to get a big guy is just scary.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm not going to get into it. Not a Hearthstone show.
You've done enough of those this week. I'll let it slide.
That's a really good point. I've done 3 damn Angry Chickens this week.
But I think we can definitely say that his trait would be a combo point based thing.
Yeah, it'd have to. I mean, that's how rogues in general are. And if you're really going to make him the quintessential rogue, that's how I'd like to see him developed. I'd love to see some type of combo system.
Right, and ideally some sort of finisher to go with it, which would be really cool. Or, like you mentioned, it could just be an auto attack thing. The longer he targets a single hero without hitting someone else, the more damage he does. Or perhaps the speed of his attacks increase in a sort of slice and dice operation.
Now, my next question, perma-stealthed?
I wouldn't go with it. Yeah, I think... actually, if you came to me and said Nova was going to be perma-stealth, I'd probably say no. Zeratul, 100% Dark Templars, always stealth. If you're going with lore, he doesn't even break stealth in the first place other than to, chastise Kerrigan in a cutscene so we can actually see what's going on. But that might just be Kerrigan's true sight. Oh my goodness.
So if he didn't, I'm thinking one of, if you had 2 heroics on Van Cleef, one of them could be like Vanish. Or something.
Sure. I'd even say put it on his E, which is the most common escape, evasion, or stun, or even a movement-based ability we have on most heroes.
Yeah.
So I think something along the lines of a wind walk would be awesome. Granted, that's a Blade Master ability, but I'm not expecting to see normal Blade Master. I'm guessing we're going to get Grom Hellscream for that. And for him to turn invisible just doesn't seem his character anymore.
Who?
Grom Hellscream.
Grom, I never think of him turning invisible. Did he?
Right, but if you're going, with Warcraft 3, the Blade Master, he had Windwalk, could go invisible, move faster, and first attack did bonus damage.
Oh, yeah, no, that wouldn't make any sense for Grom.
Exactly, but that's moldy oldie, so definitely a Vanish would be, I think, the perfect ability, a short duration stealth, get him out of trouble, talent it to, break snares and stuff like that. But ultimately, it'd be nice to see him walking around amongst people, particularly because in lore, he is the leader of a whole group of rogues. And I'd like to see him. I'd love to see some of his, Defias Brotherhood popping out.
Oh, like he brings his cronies with him?
Yeah, well, in particular, when you're fighting him in the instance, it's a percentage-based thing. When you first fight him, 2 of his bodyguards pop out. Or, his blackguards. And they attack you. And then when he's at 50%, he disappears, summons some more. 25%, summons some more. It'd be real cool to have a hero that, as he gets wailed on, these guys run out of stealth and start hitting you.
So you have it's like a passive. His passive is spawn ninja friends.
Exactly.
When taking damage.
And there's a huge problem if they don't do the human huh as soon as they run at you.
Oh, that's great. You know what he needs to do is he needs to yell, lapdogs, all of you.
Exactly.
That's what he needs to do. This makes me so happy now that I'm thinking about it.
That could be an ultimate, but I think you're really touching on specialist toes there. And keeping him an assassin seems important. Though, Sylvanas is looking like she's going to be a specialist at the moment.
Yeah, which I'm not sure how I feel about that, because I need a new assassin, and I was really hoping she'd be it, but...
The game needs more assassins to help fill it out, though I'm perfectly happy with the limited kit we've seen, and I can't wait to play with it.
Yeah. No. Oh, man, I can't wait for Sylvanas. PAX next week. She better be announced, or I'm rioting.
But I think we can definitely agree, Backstab, Sinister Strike, Garrote, one of these abilities is definitely your cue.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I wouldn't be surprised if he had a stun like a kidney shot or something like that.
Yeah, kick, stun, sap. How many do you have to name? They have tons of them. Probably not evasion. That's gone to Illidan.
Right, and they all just seem like they would fit so seamlessly into a kit for a hero. Sorry, Grimes in the chat room yelling "lapdogs, all of us" is making me laugh.
Well, and then some sort of mechanic where he does more damage from behind. We don't have anything like that at the moment.
His passive, rogues do it, ...
From behind.
There you go.
I like it.
Wonderful.
And I would love to see an area effect that is summon cookie, where it just throws food everywhere that explodes.
Oh, that would be amazing. You just get a little Little Murloc with a rolling pin come out and fight for you.
Exactly.
Oh, man.
You know, up it a bit. The game's looking good. Those Hydras are looking too nice to just have a Murloc throwing stuff. Put the chef's hat on him.
Heroes team, what are you doing? Hire this man. Get on it. Wonderful. Well, the Thief Lord, thank you so much for writing in and being our first user submitted wish list. And we hope to hear more from you guys. We may not always do this segment if it's a particularly busy week, like a patch week. It probably isn't going to fit in. But on weeks like this, where it's a slower news week, we'll absolutely would love to talk about brainstorming new heroes. So send in your ideas. Now it is time to round the show out with some emails.
Darkness stopped calling.
Hold on. Darkness just texted me.
Okay, tell him I'm not here.
You can send your emails to itncast@gmail.com. Our first one this week comes to us from Butchie Poo, who writes, last night, a group of 5 of us on voice chat were playing some quick matches, and we had a crazy idea. What would happen if we all went support?
That is crazy.
We did, and it was freaking fun. Our goal was to get 1 takedown. We played on Garden of Terror and wasted the other team. I don't know if this was just a fluke or if we were really onto something here. Me and my group still have some more testing to do, but I feel like this playstyle could change the quick match meta. Thanks for the show. That is absurd and very funny.
It's great that they got all together. They had a full 5-man group. Not only decided to do the strategy, but set their goals nice and low. Like, we'll just be happy with a single kill, right, guys? Got to start somewhere.
I would have expected more kills than that, because if you're all support, you're all throwing heals. I mean...
Well, and you're going to quickly run out of people who, just support. I mean, Lili's damage is pretty high. And by 5, you're already getting into Tyrande, which can take, assassin-based talents at level 1.
Yeah. And if anyone's wondering, their lineup was Tyrande, Brightwing, Malfurion, Uther, Lili. And they played against a Sonya, Muradin, Uther, Raynor, Falstad.
Wow. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's like the team they were going against, legitimate team. Looks like the enemy team only got 3 kills. Granted, it was a low kill game. Their team only got 13, which is massive compared to 3. But that seems kind of low for a full game of heroes.
Oh, what a wall of health. Not only that, but low healths. So it must have been a bait fiesta.
Oh, it had to be. Like, that's just absurd. But yeah, no, I feel like Tyrande in there probably really helped carry the group.
Yeah.
And you have Uther, who basically becomes the tank in that scenario.
Mm-hmm. Lili, too.
He's got to be out front. Lili can't really take a lot of punishment, though. She becomes the baiter because she can run.
Right.
She's
exactly.
the bait.
But those are hits that aren't being delivered to other people when she gets to the back and is now safe, healing up.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so crazy. I love this. I want to try this. Every time we get weird ideas from listeners, I just want to stop the show, start playing the game, and try whatever it is they were doing. Oh, I didn't even think to look at hero damage, which he included. Yeah, Tyrande had the most damage. Second most damage was Malfurion, actually barely underneath Tyrande. And
I
then
believe it.
Lili and Brightwing pretty much tied, and Uther was the lowest damage by a pretty large margin.
I believe the Malfurion. I mean, that Moonfire build we talked about on it was episode 37 is just deadly.
Yeah.
And really, you just go nothing but damage talents in this situation. Everyone's got something to give to everyone else.
Right, exactly. Like with that many people who have just a built-in heal, you don't need to spec into it at all. It's just every single one of these guys probably won a damage build. So thanks for the inspiration, Butchie Poo. That was great. Our
second room brings up all specialists. Not on my watch.
Why not, Kyle?
That sounds just abysmal, frankly. I only want one specialist on my team. Maybe back in the days when promote lasts infinitely, and I tried it out one night with a couple of people and just promoted every minion on Earth. It was a blast. But now I feel like you would just have, your Abathur on top of your Murky, and the Azmodan can't really engage. So he's the tank, but he can't really do anything once he's in there. And what a mess. Maybe Sergeant Hammer. I guess Sergeant Hammer could clean up.
Yeah, I'm just trying to. So what would there's only 8 specialists? We got. What would that team look like? You got Abathur, which Asmodan.
Asmodan's your tank, yeah. You have a Hammer for DPS, Zagara for DPS.
Nazebo.
Okay, definitely DPS. And your support, I guess, is Abathur, yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's interesting. Lost Vikings are also a specialist.
Okay.
Don't forget about them. Yeah, I mean, it would work out with Zagara because Zagara is so she can just heal herself pretty much for an entire fight. I mean, I had a game the other night where I never once had to Hearth as Zagara. So I took increased health regeneration on creep, and I took what the hell is the other talent called?
Your instant regeneration button.
Yeah, I forget what it's called. Regeneration is in the title. Rapid incubation. Sorry, that's what it is. Level 7 talent. You take that, and you take the level 1 reconstitution, and you're just this kind of self-feeding machine. It's ridiculous.
That ability is so wonderful. Really is my favorite if you go Devouring Maw.
Rapid incubation?
Yeah.
Yeah, you just never have to leave. It's
got
great.
some slight mana problems playing Zagara, so it's always nice to have that little boost.
Oh, absolutely. Especially if you go my full build, which is, increased damage on your Hunter Killer and then 2 Hunter Killers. You're just popping them out constantly, just chewing through your mana. So incubation really helps a lot.
Chat room's talking about, making Olaf the tank for that, which he's suited for it. I would love to see the 5-on-5 all Vikings matchup. It'd be almost as incredible as the 5-on-5 all Abathur matchup.
Oh, if you could do just everyone
just break the
thing.
game.
Just gotcha. That's all Abathur sounds like. I don't know how that would work.
Well, you would have to have at least you would have to have 2 Abathurs, I guess.
2 Abathurs home, 3 Abathurs on the field.
Right, exactly. Spreading out, making sure you have maximum locus everywhere, but you have 2 Slapathurs getting business done, so other Abathurs can sit atop them.
Oh, that just sounds silly. Super silly. Anyways, our next email this week comes to us from Mohammed from Sweden, who writes, "Hey guys, I just want to thank you for a great show. I love listening to you every Friday on the subway on my way to work. Keep up the good work. My question is, what do you think of Tyrande? I really like her. Not a great support healer, but heals decent with the healing ward and does quite good damage, and speccing the owl width and damage can be useful in many situations. Would be nice hearing you discuss her on the show." Well, Mohammed, I'm assuming you're a new listener, because if you listened to probably the first 7 episodes of this, it was just me and my love affair with Tyrande.
Yeah, though we never did a proper hero week with her, and I've always just kind of taken a back seat. Because our friend Ben played a lot of Tyrande when the game first came out. You were super into her, got really good at the stuns. And then this past week, she just happened to be on free-to-play rotation. I had her at level 4, and I said, what the heck? And just fell in love with her.
She's her kit is so much fun.
Of all the people I played this week, Tyrande was the most. I was entranced. The gambling capabilities and the excitement building in my chest as I'm top lane and I shoot an owl bottom just to see what happens. Just delighted me to no end.
Yeah, some of the kills you can get with Sentinel is just ridiculous.
Right, and there's a lot of heroes that take skill. I mean, I love playing Tychus. You've got your minigun going, and you hit him with a grenade and knock him back towards you, kill him off. It's a very obvious display of skill, whereas this is just a straight-up gamble. I mean, there's applications to it. There's places people will most likely be standing, but nothing quite feels as good as that kill.
Well, I think you're discrediting it a little bit, because, I mean, obviously you can use it when you know where someone is. If someone's escaping from you, if you know how to lead that shot and actually hit them before they get to the fountain, it is the best feeling in the game.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Though I actually haven't played her since her slight nerf, and I was rather surprised to see Empower at level 4 not quite as empowered as it used to be. It used to be reduce your cooldown for every hero hit. Now it's merely just
it's a flat,
2 seconds off.
It's a flat 2 seconds, yeah.
Exactly, which doesn't quite feel like it has the gravity it once did. But Ranger at level 16, increased width, 100%, and bonus damage based off of distance traveled up to 200% damage. I mean, hitting someone in the face for 800, wow.
Now, Tyrande, as much as I love her, is not a hero I've really playing around with a lot since I've gone kind of try hard and like looking up builds and seeing what the optimal thing is. So I don't actually even know what the correct build for Tyrande is. I just know, me personally, I love going a Lunar Flare build. Because that, like, especially the increased range of Lunar Flare, which I think is, actually have it right here, level 13, Lunar Blaze, increases the range by 50%, and you get a larger impact area.
Which is really your only augmentation you could take for it, at least the earliest one.
Yes, that is the earliest one you can get. Level 16 next talent, you can get another one where it does 50% more damage and refunds all mana it costs to use it if you land a hit. Which is just gross, and I love it.
And rather easy to do with that increased range and impact area. I'm curious to know what you're taking at level 1, because Pierce just seems like a no-brainer to me.
At level 1, yeah, Pierce is really, really good.
The mere chance of hitting an extra hero doubles your damage.
Yeah. That being said, taking a Hunter's Mark, if you know you're going to be like buddy with another assassin for the whole game, can yield devastating results.
Yeah, this is her trait, which is actually not passive at all. It's a whole nother button to press.
Yeah.
Increase damage dealt to the target by 25% and revealing them for 4 seconds.
Yeah,
4 seconds.
It
can no longer be used on structures, though.
It used to be passive, and it was beautiful. It was just whoever you hit with an attack was now marked.
Yeah.
In the early days of the alpha, but yeah, now you have to actively click D and then select your target, which is fine, and it makes them take 25% more damage and reveals them for 4 seconds. Like, combine this, like you and I used to always do. I would be Tyrande and you would go Tychus, and whenever you got the Hunter's Mark up on someone and Tychus was just laying into him, it was ridiculous.
Because it's all damage. It's not auto attacks or anything like this.
Yeah.
Though still this past week, I was spamming wildly on the fort going, why won't you cast?
Yeah. Pierce, I almost always take on any type of battleground where there's a hand-in of some sort or something you need to channel that's part. So Dragonite, I definitely take it. Blackheart's Bay, I definitely take it. Cursed Hollow. Those 3, since there's all places you would like an owl to hit, and you would like someone standing in front of the person you would like to hit, not to muck up the situation. I almost always take Pierce on those battlegrounds, but on the others, I'll consider Ranger's Mark.
So at level 4, I took Protective Shield because it's a free talent, and I was having mana issues.
Protective Shield. Yeah, that's absolutely fine, and especially if you're going a support. Well, if you're going a support build, an argument could be made for Healing Ward because her healing is crap. But Protective Shield is just so damn good, and power is not nearly as good as it used to be. Searing arrows is only really good if you're going a damage build. So yeah, Protective Shield is fine.
All right, level 7's a tough choice for me because battle momentum is how I get more owls in the first place. But True Shot Aura is just passive. And it's 10% basic attack damage to everyone in your area and speed.
Yep.
Just seems like a no-brainer.
It has a surprisingly small area, though, so you do have to keep that in mind. You really have to be on top of staying near. You kind of have to start playing Tyrande like a damage-dealing Brightwing. Because Brightwing has to stay close to everyone to heal them. Tyrande needs to stay close to everyone to buff them.
All right, yeah. And they're both pretty small models, so you're not really having trouble with body block there.
Yeah. And then, yeah, we've talked about Shadowstalk and Starfall in the past, the pros and cons of both, and it really hasn't changed. Shadowstalk is great if you have a lot of team coordination. It can be super powerful, but Starfall is just really powerful overall. And there's really not a wrong... I feel like there's not really a wrong time to take it, but if you're super coordinated, Shadowstalk can yield some impressive results.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed in Starfall's killing ability. If you're behind by any number of levels, it just doesn't feel like it's doing much other than denying turn-ins, caps, getting that curse and whatnot. At level 20, when you augment it for infinite range, along with an owl, you're the biggest ass on the planet, stopping every turn-in from happening.
Yeah. Let's see. 13, yeah, we talked about some of these. I mean, Shrink Ray is so damn good, but Sprint's a good escape mechanism, which Tyrande does not have. Granted, if you're going to get Bolt at 20, maybe don't consider getting it.
I think Lunar Blaze, just the chance of stunning more than one target there is huge. I was really confused, though, by Purging Mark, a level 13 talent that gets rid of ammo. That's usually a level 1 thing.
Yeah, I'm a little confused by that as well.
When I get to level 13, the last thing on my mind is, I wonder how much ammo those towers have left. Really gonna swing the game in my favor now.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you, dude. 16 is when you can increase your range on your sentinel, which I we call it the bird build, and it's good.
Yep.
And then level 20, you've got all kinds of good choices here. Rewind, which is amazing. Bolt of the Storm, which is a great way to stay alive. And, augments either Shadowstalk or Starfall. And then Storm Shield, which is probably the least attractive talent here.
Yeah. I knew Rewind was probably what I wanted, but being my first real week with her, it wasn't something I was prepared for. That extra button that activated 3 more buttons.
Yeah, but man, being able to double Lunar Flare.
Yeah.
Sexy. It's
well, and with
sexy.
all the Illidan's this week, with the bug happening right now, and just his popularity. I think he was free to play last week as well, and he has a skin on sale. Rewind seems like the correct choice to just have, if someone's up in your face wailing on you, double ow, double stun.
Yeah. So, Tyrande's a great hero. I really like her. She has, I think, one of the more fun builds, or the more fun kits in the game. Lots of skill shots. Just you feel like a baller when you're doing well with her.
I would really like to see people pick her as an anti-Nazebo, because the slight heal is enough to knock out a poison that could get a hero killed. Mm-hmm. And then your stun is pretty easy to aim on a stationary Nazebo.
Yes, it is. And it's a very long range stun, which is beautiful.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I'm going to try picking Tyrande more in draft this week when I see a Nazebo on the opposing team.
I think just the problem in draft is, people assume it's a support, and it's not really.
Well, a lot of people talk beforehand. It's like, hey, I'm going to go damage build. Someone else grab an actual healer, please.
Fair enough.
It's like no one assumes Tassadar is going to carry the team if they see a Tassadar pop up.
Sure, but we've been in those situations too where we go, oh, hey, Tyrande, and that you've gone Tyrande, I've gone Tassadar, and that is not enough. Those two half supports do not make a whole.
No, not at all. Although your crazy basic attack, shield, heal, Tassadar build can do work in the right hands.
Right. When people are aware of the situation.
Yeah. Anyways, thank you for your email, Mohammed. We really appreciate it. That'll do it for this show. Again, a big thanks to our patrons who got us up to our second, what was the word I'm looking for? Goal, milestone. I was like, landmark. I'm like, it's not a landmark.
I like landmark, though.
That moment where all the words just leave your brain. It's not fun. So thank you guys so much. If you want to become a patron of Into the Nexus, $1 a month, $5 a month, whatever you want to contribute, go to patreon.com/ITN. We thank you for the support. Also, if you're leaving us reviews in the iTunes stores, it helps the show out a lot. It's one of the ways that iTunes knows to suggest the show to new people. So go leave us a review if you enjoyed the show. This week, we wanted to thank Proton Murphy and Spence805. Thank you for your iTunes reviews. As always...
Proton Murphy.
Proton Murphy?
That's a great, Ghostbuster name.
Oh, man. Proton Murphy. I just, things haven't been the same since he crossed that stream, man. It's just good old Proton Murphy. As always, Into the Nexus is produced by amove.tv and our patron producer, Declan H. Thank you very much, Declan. You can see more about this and all of the other shows on amove over at amove.tv. You can email us at itncast@gmail.com, follow us on Twitter at itncast, and you can catch us live every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern on twitch.tv/amovetv, and you may be able to join us for an after-show game every week now, thanks to our delightful patrons. But patrons get first dibs, so keep that in mind. And also check out the mobile live stream. If you can't tune into the video version of Into the Nexus and you really want to hear it live, you can actually go to alphageekradio.com on really any of these devices made of glass that we apparently call phones now. You can listen to the show on that on the go. I listened to the instance the other day in my car live for the first time, and I was just like, man, I forgot that I could do this.
Technology.
I know it's very nice. So check it out. We thank Alpha Geek Radio for allowing us to broadcast the audio version of this show live. It really helps out. Check out Brian Griffith, the musician who made our intro music, over at briangriffithmusic.com. And that is it for the pimps, except Kyle. where can folks find you?
You can find me at kyleferguson.com, where next week I'll be posting an article about a particular adventure which I may be saving in my pocket for when I am down in Florida next week, visiting this fine gentleman right here.
Oh my God.
Introducing a nice live D&D game, and I think we're all set for a live Into the Nexus, or at least in the same room.
We should be, absolutely. I'm trying to think of how we're going to record. Do you have a second mic you can bring?
Yeah, I guess I could, yes.
Doesn't have to be anything fancy. Just anything that connects via XLR. That's all I need.
All right. Awesome.
Delightful. Well, then great. So next week we're doing episode 41 together.
Live on that couch?
It's the first time. Yeah, actually, oh man, that'd be great if we like set up our mics and we just kind of relax on the couch with some tea or beers. I don't know.
Chill.
We'll see how gentlemanly we'd like to be. This is exciting, man. We've never done a show together, like, in person.
No, we haven't.
So,
and it all falls apart right there. Yes, it was the distance that made the show work. Other than that, you can find me on Twitter at Kyle Ferguson, and I can't get enough talking about heroes, so I went on Stormcast Show this past Saturday. Episode 31 is up, where I share one of my favorite builds, the Asmodunk build that's been circulating around with them.
Ah, very cool. Well, go check that out. Stormcast. I like those guys. They're very nice on Twitter.
They are.
They're always tweeting about us and stuff. So it's very, very kind of them. Go check that out. I would have liked to have joined, but man, they record late.
Yeah, 9 p.m. my time, which is midnight your time.
On a Sunday.
Yeah, on a Sunday, no less. It would have messed up your week a bit.
Just a little. As if I wasn't already up late Saturday night recording with Amaz in Hong Kong.
Not only could you have not have made it, you're in another podcast.
My own podcast had me up super late. But yeah, crazy stuff. If folks want to keep following me, I can be found on Twitter at GarrettArt. That's at GarrettArt. 2 R's, 2 T's in Garrett. If you put 1 T like everyone does, you will not find me. I don't think anyone is at GarrettArt with 1 T. And if they are, I'm going to find out. They are a liar. Nah.
It will be now. Now that you made a big deal about it.
Yes. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm going to do there. So, you can also find my graphic design work over at nomanart.com. And you can find me talking about Hearthstone over on The Angry Chicken. Check it out. Our sponsors are doghousesystems.com and tweakedaudio.com, where you can use the code ITN. If you use it over at doghousesystems.com, you'll get double memory on your next Doghouse Systems gaming rig. And over at Tweaked Audio, it'll get you 30% off and free shipping off of your entire order of noise-reducing earbuds. We thank them for their support. We thank you all for listening, and we will see you next week, coming to you live from the same location, where if you tune in maybe 15 minutes after it starts, we'll just be beating each other up. For Into the Nexus, episode 41. Good luck and have fun, everyone.
Take care.